She wasn't much to look at when I first laid eyes on her. She was this red ball of fluffy fur and lots and lots of energy. Her previous owner had rescued her off the streets, and then 2 days later turned her over to the vet's office. Their parting words were, "Barks too much and bites." And everyone at the clinic knew I was looking for a new dog to train. And here she stood. I was a sucker for a challenge, and I was a little excited to finally get my redhead, an Irish setter to boot. No Irish names for her. Nope, I named her after a Crayola crayon. Cheyenne Red, a beautiful shade of brown, tan, orange, and red, just like her. Cheyenne's name would change daily, or by the minute. She'd answer to the names of Cheyenne, Baby Girl, Shy, Bitch, or when she was really bad, Cheyenne Nicole. And Shy followed her own drummer, and that was never more apparent than at puppy kindergarten. I was the proud parent of the only puppy to spend more time in the time-out box than in class. Shy was the biggest and the only girl, and she would knock over the other puppies, and she'd pull their ears and tails, and she'd bark and bite, and then she would talk back to the instructor. So it was suggested that I try to socialize her. So we'd go for walks down Main Street and anywhere there was lots of people and lots of noise. I even tried taking her trick-or-treating. She loved the sights and the sounds and the smells, so much so that she walked off with some little ghoul's trick-or-treat bag. She was so slick about it, I didn't even notice it until the crying kid's mother pointed out the bag hanging around Shy's neck. I would try to correct her, but she would just look at me and roll her eyes. And I think this was where I figured out that she didn't like me much. Or so I thought. I never had this much problem with any dog. And I'd tell her to sit, and she'd woo-woo me, and I'd tell her to stay or down, and she'd roll her eyes or turn her back. She could push my buttons, so much so that I'd have to go sit down and ignore her. But Cheyenne would eventually come find me, and she'd toss my hand with her wet nose, and she'd woo-woo me, and then she'd finally jump up in my lap, and she'd lick my face or try to run off with my glasses. I would swear she hated me. Through life's ups and downs, I never realized how much my furry family kept me balanced. I lost Echo, my Brittany first. Her heart just gave out. And then 2 months later, Cargo, my beautiful but goofy Gordon setter. He had died suddenly of lung cancer. And Cheyenne and I both had to recover from their passings, and she of course recovered quicker. I think she enjoyed being the only dog for a change. She loved the attention and the long walks in the park, and she had 2 favorite pastimes. One was pulling me close to the river. I think she wanted to drown me, just so she could chase after the ducks, and the other was riding shotgun in my truck. She'd get tired of looking out the window and would lay across the seat with her head resting on my leg, looking up at me. Actually, I think I enjoyed that a little more than she did. Funny how that dog, who never gave me the time of day, was now my constant companion. Our emotional bond had changed, and we enjoyed each other. That's what made her unexpected passing so hard. It hasn't been a year yet. She got sick, just like that. Her kidneys failed. I think it was my fault. I think it was the treats that I gave her that made her sick. She loved those chicken strips. The vet said he didn't know for sure, but we spent 2 months trying to recover, but finally I had to let her go run with the big dogs. There's a saying among dog people which goes something like this: I wish I was just half the person my dog thinks I am. 'Cause she looked up at me like she knew I had tried, and she knew my heart was breaking, and she was ready to go, but yet she wanted to stay, and she was happy to have me be her human. She looked at me with so much love, and I kissed her nose, and she licked my cheek, and I stayed with her until she passed, and then I walked home alone with her collar in my hand. I think sometimes I hear her snoring at night, or I think I hear her tags clanging together as she runs up the stairs, and sometimes when I'm walking alone and I pause to see if just maybe she'd come loping out of the woods with her tail up and that silly Irish grin. Man, I miss that dog. I miss her. I miss the dog who didn't like me much.